Hi, everybody. This is Netdata Office Hours, episode 14, if I'm not mistaken. There's already a couple of them went by. We'll be doing a user panel discussion. So I have with me Greg. Thank you so much for being with us here. And
For sure.
it's going to be very interesting to hear about your use case and the usage you have with Netdata.
Great.
As usual, I'll just give a couple of minutes after we kick this one off so we get more people to join the stream and we'll go straight to the interesting part. I'd say we probably should be good to go. So we have already a couple of people online. So thank you for being with us on this Netdata office hours. Let me start sharing my screen just to give initial context and then we will go straight to the discussion. So 1 second. So today is our third user panel discussion. So sorry, wrong window. I wanted to show the slides. So this one. So this is our third user panel discussion. So the agenda and the spotlight is going to be focused on that. So and then in the end we'll have a slot for questions. With me we have Greg Boner. So he's also providing some consultancy services. He's currently employed, so he's not probably doing much work on the consultancy part, but has a good portfolio and background there. He's with us to help us understand his use case with Netdata, what's his pains, and where Netdata can help him and this company with that. So welcome, Greg, and really appreciate you accepting the invitation and joining us here on stage. It's going to be awesome to understand your use case in more details.
Thank you.
So just to reiterate, this user panel discussions is a space for where community members can share their experience. So we want to go through practical applications, engage with the discussions of use cases where other users are using that data and exploiting the potential of the product. This is a live and informal event, and anybody that is listening in, anybody that would like to be a panelist, just reach out to us, and we'll love to have you as well on stage. Um, Without further ado, we can jump to the questions. So I'll probably stop the presentations. The questions will pop up on the stream. So we'll start with the first one. Let me just hide this. So Greg, in terms of introductions, could you share a bit about your infrastructure, details of your setup? How are you using that data? So anything you feel relevant to give you some background context for who's listening in.
Yeah, for sure. So, my name is Greg Bonner. I'm a career sysadmin. I currently have a full-time employment with a company that is a former client of mine. They work in the retail spaces. They sell consumer goods. It's a company of about 500 to 600 people. Um, there are about 16 locations, including 14 retail fronts and two warehouses. We have a mix of Windows and Linux in our environment. There's nothing too crazy, but just the typical application stacks that we see in retail industries. You have warehouse logistics and ERP, that is Microsoft Dynamics Navision. as well as we have a heavy e-com side. We have a mix of Magento e-commerce community as well as WordPress. So we have approximately 60 Linux servers scattered about for various purposes. Um, there are various uses for these Linux servers, not just to host web pages and ecom. I also use Nginx as a reverse proxy to hide some of our older Windows infrastructure that should not be on the internet, but is not able to be removed yet. A problem as old as time. Netdata is great for watching. It doesn't matter what it is. It could be a Ubuntu instance out in Amazon AWS. It could be a Red Hat virtual machine sitting on Hyper-V internally. It could be an appliance. For example, we use pfSense to host OpenVPN for our remote users, which of course is FreeBSD, and I have Netdata on that because the native monitoring is lacking within pfSense itself. So, Netdata has been highly extensible, whatever platform, wherever it is, a one-liner gets it installed and producing data. It's great to be able to just punch in a single line and get CPU, memory, disk, network usage all right out of the box and ready to go immediately. So that's somewhat of our use case. The modifications that I've made to the configurations for some of our more complicated Linux instances, is great. Everything is presented beautifully in a clear to read way. Yeah, it's great.
Awesome. Awesome. Thanks for the full details, Greg. And a lot of things that can go wrong, a lot of things to keep track on. So a lot of metrics to look at. Definitely.
Yes.
Cool. So we probably can go to the second one, and you probably already gave a bit of a hint into this one. So why did you start using Netdata, and what particular problem did you initially have that you thought you wanted to get sorted out with, in this case, with Netdata?
In this particular environment, it is quite developer centric, and that is, of course, comes at times with some political happenings. We had an instance of a ecom piece of software called CS-Cart. It is not widely used, but not unknown either. Heavily modified over the course of a few years by a developer internally. And of course, it was performing poorly. You would have page loads that would be in seconds or minutes, depending on where you were going on this e-commerce website. And there was a back and forth about whether it was server related, hardware, resources, configuration, or application and database. Netdata was actually able to point towards PHP and MySQL heavy utilization in terms of server resources, which led down the road to APM solutions. In the end, New Relic was chosen immediately for that because it already had been deployed in other areas of the organization for other applications. And sure enough, Netdata was able to corroborate that server configurations were correct, resources were properly provisioned, and everything is a-okay on the infrastructure side. The problem lies elsewhere. That was able to put a disagreement that was running weeks long, put it to bed in the span of about 5 minutes. Then, of course, the troubleshooting begins on the application side.
Awesome. So helped sorting out whose backyard the issue is, and get people focused on solving their issues on their side.
Precisely.
Awesome. So throughout your usage of Netdata along this time, is there any particular feature or capability of Netdata that you want to highlight that you consider most useful, or that you're also using the most out of your experience with Netdata?
That's a great question. It is far-reaching. I mean, I look at everything as equally useful. One thing that stands out in my particular use case would probably be the auto configuration for application monitoring, just to get some basic stats out of it. MySQL in particular, I find Netdata is absolutely outstanding at providing performance metrics, open closed handles, queries running, all that sort of thing, without too much fuss. I'm sure we all know that SQL can definitely be a beast, whether or not it's Microsoft or MySQL. It's certainly absolutely elegant at being able to, again, install it and see exactly what SQL is doing without having to mess around in the SQL command line or through other avenues. It really is immediate for all the key information that you need. I do enjoy using Netdata above pretty much every other tool that I've used to monitor my SQL. It's absolutely perfect for it.
So in this case, focusing on the out-of-the-box metrics that you get with this integration with MySQL, and basically getting the dashboards immediately for you to start exploring the metrics.
Correct. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Cool. And in terms of, since we are speaking a bit about out of the box and also the alerts, do you find also MySQL related alerts helping in any case? Did you have the need to customize anything around those, or the out of the box was okay for your use case as well?
Surprisingly, out of the box was absolutely perfect in this particular environment. There aren't too many deviations from standard configurations. What you would get with MySQL out of the box, everything I needed was present from Netdata right from the get-go. Nginx, on the other hand, of course, with a web server, we have custom logging for our syslog server and our SIEM. Netdata is out of the box, picks up everything for Nginx or Apache perfectly. To be able to modify Netdata for custom logging is super simple and very straightforward. It's also great at picking up everything else you need there. Any custom metrics that I've had to add. For example, we only deal in the Canadian market. It was very interesting to have Netdata actually pick up and graph geographic IP hits. So Canada and then every other country. That was a cool customization that I was able to put through. And that was very interesting to see how easy it was.
Cool. Very nice example of a custom adjustment, let's say, on the configs to get what you needed. Cool.
For sure.
So the next question is, what is the main reason that keeps you using Netdata? What's the reason why you don't look elsewhere and you're satisfied to keep using it?
I always kind of drill these down to, or boil it down to, three main things. That's ease of use and functionality. The cost, of course, so you got to keep management happy, and the actual performance and the nuts and bolts of the solution. Netdata just taps on everything, those three things, so perfectly. Um, there's really no need to change to anything else when you can just run a single line command and get more than the basics out of it, a wealth of information in such a beautiful way. And for free, it's hard to believe it's for free.
Yeah, you're right. We currently, in terms of, just to check, in your use case, I think we did not touch this in the beginning. You're just using the Netdata agent, or you also use the Netdata cloud to centralize your monitoring of your agents? Just to give a bit of context on this.
We just use the Netdata agent. I do have
Okay.
I have used the Netdata cloud just briefly for testing. And I have used it in other environments. In this particular environment, the organization's a little bit paranoid about data getting outside for some reason. So just to answer your question, yeah, it's primarily the agent.
The agent. Yeah. So that one for sure, it's free, and anybody can deploy wherever they need. And because I was thinking, if you're speaking about cloud, we have a kind of a limitation in terms of a community plan, and then of course we have the business plans and all that stuff. So but we have these two options, so users can go with the agent and can opt for cloud if they need some specific features like role-based access control and centralized dispatch of notifications, and basically organizing your infrastructure in different rooms. So that's kind of some of the benefits you have on cloud. Yeah. So the next question that I bring is, what is the main pain points or challenges that you currently have, and how is Netdata helping you to solve those challenges?
One of the pain points that we do have is lack of funding for monitoring. I mean, it is not an optional facet of information technology, especially systems administration, in my mind. I mean, you have to be able to keep tabs on these things when you have um, when you have a company that runs a thin ship and you don't have a lot of time, you don't have a lot of staff, you don't have a lot of funding for automations or the ability to spend time setting up alerting and things of this nature. You know, net data has been invaluable in being able to get alerts right out of the box and accurate alerts. You know, is disk space running out? Is CPU utilization consistently high? One of the specific metrics is CPU pressure stall. I mean, that is absolutely invaluable to see why a server is chugging along, you know, and it allows you to dig a little bit further into exactly what is causing it to chug. Um, just being able to see this information and the specific information that Netdata provides, every metric is it saves me hours from having to go through and review systems manually or refer to multiple systems unrelated to Netdata to determine what a problem is. That instant point and shoot uh, ability is absolutely invaluable. You know, that is something that was you know, in an evening, had resolved a significant amount of my workload doing performance reviews on servers.
So again, the granularity of the metrics you get, the out of the box stuff, the way you can then probably correlate the metrics among themselves, it's priceless. Yeah.
Correct. Yeah.
Cool. Actually, we have a question from the chat on the audience to one of ours. So when you were speaking about logs and Apache and Nginx, so the question that we have from Satyadeep is, do you use Netdata for logs monitoring, especially from applications, MySQL, Nginx, Apache? What's your use case around these logs monitoring?
The use case that I have for using Netdata to monitor these server applications is primarily performance. Um, it is able, you know, it is valuable to just be able to eyeball the graphs and see, well, Nginx looks a little bit busier today than it has in previous days. Are we under attack? You know, which warrants further inspection of the logs manually or through, you know, another solution like our web application firewall, for example. Same thing with SQL. There's a high open connection count. Is there a process that's running long? Is there a query that's running long? Is there somebody trying to brute force into the shell? Netdata does monitor these in such a way that even if I don't need to rely on Netdata specifically to troubleshoot the exact source of a problem, it indicates that there is a problem or something that there's an anomaly correctly, you know, aptly named in Netdata. That anomaly monitoring is invaluable in being able to review the logs and through different scopes, through different lenses, we'll say. You know, I'm a little bit old school in the sense that I prefer to review logs by hand, but it's not to say that things can be done in Netdata that you know, will at least put you on the right path.
And actually, now that you touched this point, so I'm not sure if you recently have played with the systemd journal log plugin that Netdata has released, because together with this plugin, there was some tools and some kind of helping tools for you to get kind of structured logs to be sent to systemd journal. So if you really want to get logs to be displayed on the UI together with the metrics, you can use this systemd journal and the tools that are provided to start sending some structured logs. As you said, if you prefer to see the logs yourself, you could see them directly on the UI without the need to jump to other tool or to the console. So it's also an option if you.
Incredible. I wasn't aware of that. You learn something new every day.
Yeah, it's not that old. I think it's like from the last release that was done, probably end of last year. So, but take a look and let us know what's your experience with these logging capabilities as well.
Sure.
and and also I can connect into that because we want to bring some log information into the product. We are also working on integrations with Loki and Elastic, so Netdata will not do the log collection or aggregation, but it will be kind of an integration to query data directly from Loki and from Elastic, so other users or other people that have these kind of tools for logging could also get them on the Netdata UI.
Incredible.
So thanks Satya, and thanks Greg for the details on this one. So probably moving on to the next question. So how is Netdata helping you achieve your organizational goals and objectives? So what's the role of Netdata in that for you?
Um, in a few ways, in particular, attention to cost is certainly something that the company focuses on, especially in the current economic climate. Um, Quite often, I find many businesses will throw money at problems unnecessarily. When it can be better spent elsewhere. If you have a wealth of hardware but not enough utilization, well, that's money wasted. That's capital down the drain, in my opinion. Netdata is able to really, again, allow you to eyeball what your load is versus what resources are available so that you don't make an incorrect call in terms of purchasing a new server, for example.
I think we lost you, Greg. I'm not sure if an issue with your phones.
Oh, forgive me. Can you hear me now? There
Now
we go.
yes.
Um, yeah, effectively, I'll just breeze through what I was saying very quickly. It is great to be able to eyeball resource utilization versus what resources are available. There's no point in burning capital on hardware that you don't need. Netdata is able to corroborate what's your short-term, long-term, maximum, minimum, all the averages, what kind of utilization that you actually have, and you're able to appropriately provision your hardware and spending, and therefore you're spending accordingly. The other thing that I found is using Netdata on pfSense is an excellent way to add in an excellent way to grab a lot of a wealth of networking information, just to kind of put it in line of whatever existing network infrastructure is there. Has been very useful in determining what network choke points there are, what bottlenecks exist within the network. It's a neat little trick that I've used just on an ARM device running pfSense. And, the uh, other solutions like NTOP NG and things of that nature are not nearly as beautiful or quick to eyeball. Uh, Netdata has helped me troubleshoot network performance problems as well. Forget about the actual server monitoring or anything else like that. Just to find bottlenecks and appropriately provision our WAN connections. In fact, I had done this to decrease. We had a location that was spending about $1,000 a month for fiber. Internet is expensive in Canada, ridiculously expensive. We were actually able to drop this down to just a regular business grade DOCSIS cable connection and save $900 a month. That's an incredible cost savings that can be spent on other things that we need.
So a lot of support in terms of capacity planning, as you said in the beginning, to plan your server load, to monitor your server loads, understand if you need to do anything on your infrastructure, and then optimizing some of these network costs that you are able to also use Netdata to help you there.
Absolutely.
Actually, on this network, probably this is more also as a hint. we've recently done a release on one of our nightlists, which is one function that is still kind of research and development, but is the network connections. And hopefully this also helps you get better visibility of the connections around your node. So you can check from which connections you have from private, so internal into your internet or your network, and then public, and then of course which connections are your server is acting as a client or as a server, so you can get a more granular detail about these connections and where they are coming from and what's being exposed. So also probably a hint for you to get more insight into your network around your nodes.
Excellent.
So awesome. I think this is pretty much covered. So the last one, just to check if you have anything you'd like to share on this case. So if you would like to explore any cases of troubleshooting that you have used Netdata, and how and where Netdata helped you on that troubleshooting experience that you had.
It's a great question. We have at one of my clients a fairly massive Wi-Fi deployment. They do have, of course, it's all centrally controlled, and it's actually running on, I believe, Red Hat. And with a little bit of, there's a Red Hat appliance that is, it does give you shell access. We were actually having problems with the controller communicating with various things, switches, access points. Unfortunately, I can't mention the particular vendor. And it was quite an odd problem. The vendor was not able to figure it out. My troubleshooting had kind of reached some dead ends. Everything was provisioned correctly by the book. I'd actually put Netdata on the controller on this virtual appliance, and we did come to the conclusion that there was a performance problem with the appliance. This actually led the manufacturer to go back and revise their own documentation for it. In this particular use case, they were able to infer that in certain circumstances, the virtual machine or the hardware resource provisioning for the appliance was incorrect. So in that case, Netdata helped not only myself, my client, but as well as the manufacturer, and that's quite amazing. That's very far-reaching.
Very, very interesting case. So you helped one of your vendors sort out an issue on their services and their products. So really, really interesting.
Yes.
So that was our last question. So I just want to reiterate one point that picking up from a previous question that you mentioned, Greg. As you said, you're using the Netdata agent because one of your customers was paranoid about cloud connections and all that. I would just like to mention this for the audience to say, um, of course, our cloud has, of course, connections to, if you're using our cloud, there's connections coming from the agent to cloud. But in terms of data, the metrics data that is being collected, they will never leave the users or the customer's premises. So data is always stored on the agents. Our cloud doesn't store any kind of data or centralized data. We only get some metadata to know where to route the request. So cloud is acting more as a kind of a centralization point, and then requests are being, as you see the dashboards, requests are being triggered to these proper agents to get the data, so you can see the charts. And even this is going to be aggregated data. The cloud will not have access to the raw data that is being collected. So in terms of data security concerns, just for users to be aware that data is always on-prem. So cloud is more just a kind of a centralization point to see all the data. So just then, I think we can open these two questions from the audience. So we had one from Satya. Let's just, I think I don't see any at the moment on the chat. So give a few minutes to see if there's any question that you guys would like to throw to Greg or to me. Yeah, I don't see anything popping up. So I think you're very detailed on your case, Greg. There's no doubts about about how you use Netdata and how you take advantage of it.
Great.
So I think then that's a wrap. So I thank you again, Greg, for the time you took to be with us here. sharing your experience and of course your use case. And hope you take a look on the couple of things we also mentioned here on the stream, and give us also feedback on those features. And hope you keep having a success and a good troubleshooting using Netdata on your next monitoring needs.
No, of course. No, I'm definitely going to be looking at it this evening. That's for sure. Thank you for having me. This has been great.
Thank you, Greg. So if there's nothing else, so let's wrap up the stream and see you around. See you on the next episode. Cheers.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye bye.